Hi, this is Shawn, and today we're going to be doing a watercolor tutorial for a Nautilus Shell. So this is going to be in watercolors, and if you like this kind of content, smash that like button, subscribe to our channel, and ring the bell for notifications so you don't miss out on our next video, and let us know how we're doing down below. So here I'm taking some burnt sienna and mixing it with a little bit of ultramarine blue in order to start putting the shadowing in. So what I'm going to do here is first start with the shadowing throughout the entire Nautilus shell. So again, it's a mixture of ultramarine blue and a bit of burnt sienna. Now we've in this tutorial series, we've outlined the different tools that we've used in the past, and I'll also leave a link in the description so that you can follow that and follow along if you like. So again, this is me just kind of coding over my carefully sketched out drawing. And what I'm going to do is, this will be kind of like the base coat, and then everything else will be over the top of it once it dries. So at a certain point I just let it dry. And while that area is drying, I took some of the purple, and again we'll have all the colors that we use in the description. So I'm using purple and a combination of the burnt sienna, burnt umber, and a little bit of red, because the Nautilus shell tends to have a little bit of some kind of red highlights, and just to create some variation and break up the dark area into some little bit of pops of color. So I'm just trying to carefully avoid where the watercolor is drying for the base coat area that I outlined earlier. Now I predominantly use about 2 brushes in this watercolor, and I'll also leave that in the link of the description, and just to give you an idea of what we're doing. And the way I approach this is less is more, and so that you don't have to break the bank. If you would like to follow along, you just need a couple brushes, no big deal. You can pick these brushes up from somewhere like Michael's. You might be able to get some brushes at Walmart even, and of course Amazon and some of the online places. Now here I'm just using ultramarine blue, and the interior side of the Nautilus shell tends to have like a bluish tone to it, and then I just start adding in some of the burnt sienna and just adding little bits of detail. Let us know in the comments if you like this style where I'm doing a kind of voiceover and just giving you a little bit of an idea of what I'm doing and what kind of colors I'm using. I grew up not far from the ocean, so I particularly like painting shells and sea stuff, different things from the sea and the ocean itself, and lighthouses. But it's been a little while since I painted a Nautilus shell. Now again, I'm just doing variations. I might even be using a little bit of yellow ochre right here, so just a variation and create a little bit of textures. Right now I believe that I'm getting a big batch of a dark color, so I'm using some of the black and then some of the purple and some ultramarine blue for this area. And now I'm just going to let you listen to some music and you can watch me paint. And if you like, you can always paint along and you can paint your Nautilus shell. This video is sped up about 75%, I think. So you can always pause it and follow along that way when you need to. Alright, here comes the music. I hope you enjoy. Now that I have the dark area worked out in the shadowing, now I'm going to add in the stripes of the Nautilus shell in a burnt sienna mixed sometimes with some of the cadmium red, just to create variation. So sometimes I also use a little bit of yellow ochre and just vary the color slightly and create different dark areas and just to create variation. So we got burnt sienna. I also use a little bit of some of the burnt umber, but it's mostly a combination of burnt sienna, a little bit of cadmium red, and occasionally some yellow ochre. So I'm just going to work that all the way through along the whole surface of the shell. And so you can listen to the music and watch me paint. Alright, here I'm using a little bit of the burnt sienna just to add in some of the detail, and what I'm doing here is trying not to use a lot of water. So this technique would be called dry brush, and you just add enough water to the brush with the paint so that you can only do like a few strokes, and then you're gonna have to dip your brush again. So this dry brush technique allows you to create these delicate lines, and also to create, it's called scumbling, where you let the paper texture play out as you move the brush along. So you're trying to create other textures using the paper. So again, this is called dry brush technique. Technically the brush is not dry, it just has a very little water, just enough so that you can paint a few stripes. And now I'm going to come over with some of the yellow ochre just to add some shading around the stripes and just to create some delicate variations and add some shading in. So I'm literally, that area is dry, and so I'm just literally using a little bit of water with a little bit of the yellow ochre. I hope you like our content in our watercolor series, because we're definitely planning on doing more of it in the future. We speed up the videos in order to make them a little bit more compressed in terms of time. Right here I'm adding speckles by just using those are the two brushes that I'm using, and all I'm doing is making sure that this water, like I mix up a watery batch of paint, and then I'm just whacking the hard part of the brush so that it sprays little speckles onto the paper. So I'm just tapping it, tap 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 with the brush. That's what I was doing. Now I'm just adding in a little more shading, and I'm going to let you listen to the music before we get towards the end and we can head towards wrapping this up. If you have any questions, just post them down below. If there's anything that you'd like us to paint and show you how to paint in watercolors, just post it in the comments down below, and maybe that'll be one of our future videos. In the meantime, I hope you enjoy the music. Alright, we're getting closer and closer to wrapping this one up. Now what I'm doing is preparing a big batch of a mixture of the purple the burnt umber, a little bit of burnt sienna, and a lot of yellow ochre. And what I'm going to do is add in the shadowing and create a texture like a sand-like texture that you would find at the beach. And I'm just going to do that by doing a lot of scumbling with the brush, using the paper to create texture. But first, I just carefully kind of outline the edges of the shell, and also take note of where I'm allowing the reflected light to show, because as the shell form turns away from you, there should be some reflected light. So now I'm just coming in with a lot of the burnt umber mixture with a lot of yellow ochre. Now, we'll also post in the description below where you can find some of my artwork. I create artwork that appears on different products, that you can kitchen towels, outdoor flags, paper plates, Christmas cards, spring cards, all sorts of different products. And so we'll leave a link down below where you can find more information about what we do. And here I'm just using variations of the purple, the burnt umber, and the yellow ochre, and sometimes some burnt sienna. So I hope you enjoy this series and share this with your friends so that we can grow this channel and help more people use this wonderful medium of watercolors, because this is a great medium to use. You can use watercolors pretty much anywhere. You just need water and a good place to set down your paper. And there's no smell, there's no messy cleanup. You can use just one or two brushes and get a lot of different textures and variations. And the paper is pretty affordable, and once you have the paints, they last a long time if you use them in a similar way that I use them. Which, if you follow our link in the description and go to our first in this series, the first tutorial, it outlines how I set up my paints and the way to do it so that you're not just wasting tons of paint. So we hope this video finds you having an amazing day, and we want you to have a blessed day. And so I'm just going to let you watch me paint for the rest of the video, because I'm pretty much just working mostly on the background and creating different sand-like textures. So have a blessed day.